here we are. I am so excited to have you on the show. How you doing?
You. I am great. As usual, I'm always great. But yes, thank you. It's lovely to be with you.
Oh, absolutely. And, it shows and you glow. And, you just said that you're always great. And I had this conversation with a young man just the other day about, when you ask him how he's doing, it's like, and I'm like, stop it. Stop it. You're great. You're great. I don't care what is going on in your life. I don't care if you're not having the best day. The fact that you are on this side of the dirt makes it a great day. Go out there, be great, and have it in your mind and your heart. So thank you very much for reminding me of that. So
you're welcome. But there are two sides to that, because on one side, everything you said is exactly the way I like to live my life. It's the way I choose to live my life. And then there's another side, which is we have these rituals where we say, how you doing? Fine. How you doing? Fine. And nobody cares.
Right.
So if someone feels comfortable enough to say to me, I'm not so great today, that gives me an opportunity to say, what's up? And listen and help.
Yes.
So I always kind of battle between those two things.
Yes.
It depends on who I'm talking to, too.
Yes, I feel you. I definitely feel you on that. And I think that, giving people that space to be able to say, it's not my best day, and to open the conversation when it needs to happen. But I guess, like you said, it depends on who you're speaking to. And this particular individual always responds in that way. And so that's the other side of that too. If you're always responding in that way, then nobody knows really when to say, is there something I can help you with?
Right. And what I love is now you recognizing you were playing a very different role with him, because he obviously needed somebody to lift him up and to show him another way to be. And that gave you the opportunity to do that for him. So yeah, it's complicated, but it's all good. Everything's all good.
It's all good, long as we're on this side. And sometimes, I like it when we can encourage each other. When we can encourage each other. And I'd heard so much about you. Have you seen Judith Lorick? Have you seen Judith Lorick? Everybody kept saying, I said, no, I haven't seen her, but I knew from all of the rave reviews that I had about you that you must have been good. And so I would promote your events, throughout my network sometime, because wanting to support you as a Black expat too. So let's start there. Let's start there. Where are you from? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, Lord, the story's long because I'm kind of old. I'm from Philly.
Give us the 45-minute show version.
I am originally from Philly, but I left there to go to college and never really went back. So I've lived in a lot of places. From there I went to DC, working for the Inter-American Defense Board. And from there I went to Boston and I worked as you can imagine this innocent college kid coaching drug addicts, battered wives, teenage girls who were pregnant. And I was working in an inner city organization for a while. Anyway, I stayed in Boston for 13 years. I went from that to managing, being assistant manager at the airport for the Mexican Airlines. And from that, I fell into my career as a human resources executive. They sent me to Germany, then they sent me to California. And then I decided it was time to go because I had a passion and the perks were too good. It was all too seductive. They offered me this gigantic job. And I just said, no, thank you. It's time for me to go. I quit. And that's when I started singing.
Wow. So where did you go to school? When you first left Philly, where did you go?
I went to Swarthmore College.
Okay.
That's in Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania. It's a really good school. I had a full ride, because we didn't have a lot. But I had a mom who was, you can do anything in life. So I got there and it opened up the doors for me.
Wow. I don't know why I was thinking Swarthmore was in Baltimore. Maybe I'm thinking of Wharton or something. But anyway, well, you got a good education. So when you were growing up in Philly, and by the way, I grew up in Glassboro,
Okay.
so I grew up in Glassboro, New Jersey. Philly was our big city. If you know anything about Jersey, if you're from North Jersey, New York is your big city. If you're from South Jersey, Philly is your big city. So Philly was our big city, Sound of Market Street and all those things. And then the gallery opened up. So I grew up in the 70s. So I came up in the 70s, and Philly was the big thing. So when you were growing up, what did travel mean to you? Like, did you get to travel as a young person? When did you first leave the country?
I did not. Our big deal was going to Wildwood, New Jersey in the summer, our vacation. And really, the first time I really left was, college was not that far away. It's close to, right? But I remember my older cousin called me up after my first year at Swarthmore. It was the summertime, and she called me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, I don't know what I was doing. She said, "Pack a bag. I'm taking it to New York." And I was like, "Oh, New York." Mom, and then it was, "Oh, Mommy is never going to let me go." But she trusted her. She let me go, and she took me to New York. She took me to a concert in Central Park and Ray Charles. It was my first concert.
Wow.
And then she took me to Harlem and took me to a jazz club and made them let me get on stage and sing.
Really?
I will never forget that.
Oh my gosh. Was that your first time? So, okay. So, all right, then the singing. Okay. You are a great jazz artist. Is that how you identify yourself as a jazz artist, right? So, and I was so happy to see you sing the other day. You are absolutely amazing. And it's one thing to be able to sing, and it's another thing to have an absolute darling stage presence. And you have a stage presence that keeps everybody engaged the whole time, and you ain't got to be jumping around and acting crazy. But it was like I was kind of sitting in the back and just watching people. And sometimes you go to shows and there's a lot of chit chatter and everything. And I used to do work on stage, and I know how distracting that used to be for me. But I noticed at your show, everybody was like zoned in on you. You do an excellent job. So tell us when that started. When did you realize that you could sing or wanted to sing?
I was about 3.
Wow.
And it's funny. Now, I laugh at it now. My mom, there was a little kiddie talent show thing, and I sang in it. And my mom, no, I couldn't have been. I think I was like 4. If I think back to when that was, I was probably 4.
Okay.
And I sang "How Much Is That Doggy in the Window?" Have you ever heard that?
Oh, yeah.
How much is that doggy in the window?
Wow.
But the funny one is, I sang "Teach Me Tonight." I don't know if you know the lyrics to that song.
Come on tomorrow.
Can you imagine this little girl singing "Teach Me Tonight"?
Oh my God.
And because I used to sing with my mom, sang like an angel. She had the most beautiful, she gave me voice in all ways. She gave me a voice, but she had a gorgeous voice. And we used to, morning till night, jazz vocalists were in my house. And so I grew up listening to all these songs. By the time I started singing as a young adult, I had like 350 songs in my head, just by growing up with them. So anyway, I sang that. I won the talent show. I got one of those music boxes, ding, 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 and it pops open.
Yeah,
and a crown and a scepter. Child, I thought I was. And but I sang in church. I sang in school. But all classical music and opera. And then when I went to college, I was standing in line at the freshman talent show, and they said, "What do you do?" I said, "I sing." And this voice behind me said, "Do you sing jazz?" And I said, "Yes." And this guy was an amazing pianist. So we formed a band and we did concerts all during college. And I remember Stan Kenton was putting on this Villanova Jazz Festival, and he contacted me. I don't know how he knew who I was, but they got me into that festival. And my good friend was really good friends with Ramsey Lewis. I remember going to, God, What's the name of that jazz club down in
Jazzy
Philly?
Blue?
No, well, see, I'm older than you,
Oh,
so it might,
that's
but I
true.
think it still existed. I think it still existed. It'll come to me. Anyway, he was playing there, so she took me to see him. I sang
Was
with
it
him.
Sweetwater or something?
No,
Okay.
I can't remember.
Okay.
Anyway, and then Young Holt Unlimited were his trio. They ended up having me while I was in college. They flew me out to Indianapolis or somewhere to sing with them. So I had these little experiences.
Yes.
That just lit me on fire, you know.
Yes.
But
and
it
what
wasn't
was it when it lit you on fire? Like, what was it? Was it just a feeling of contentment or feeling of accomplishment or joy? You know, what
all of the
was it?
above.
All of the above.
And for
That's
me,
when you know.
It's a catalyst. I don't care what if I'm sad, it makes me happy. If I'm happy, it makes me happier.
Mm-hmm.
It just enhances everything in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm on stage, it's everything. I mean, first, it's communication.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason you got the feeling that you got is I can't be up there and not be connected to my audience.
Mm-hmm.
I have to engage. I have to talk. I have to feel. I need to feel that I feel like my job is taking the song, the
Mm-hmm.
lyrics and the melody of the composers and presenting it to people in a way that makes them feel deeply, whatever it is. Either emotionally, cry, laugh, want to get up and dance, whatever it is. It's my job is to connect and create that.
Yeah. I felt like He Needs Me.
Oh.
And you did such a range of things, but I love that song. My favorite version of it is by Nina Simone. I mean, that song is just it's just, oh my God. It's so mellow, it's so soft, it's so heartfelt, and it's always nice to see what artists bring to a song. And I really enjoyed the way that you did it. So when I came in that night and you were on the sidelines, I know that, as a performer, you're getting into your space. You know what I mean? So I'm like, hi, and you keep it moving, because I know that you're preparing yourself for your audience, and you did an amazing job. So you never took like classical lessons or no? Wow.
No, but when you sing in a chorus or in a choir,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's not an official or a classical lesson,
Mm-hmm.
one is always learning.
Yes.
I was learning from the choir director. I was learning from the people around me. But thank you, God. I just feel like I was given this gift that because of my mom, I started using very young. So I learned by doing. A lot of it was just learning by doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then after college, when I went to Boston, I actually auditioned for a gig.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a live audition. And there was a trio, these old Black guys, and remember, we're talking now 1970, probably,
Okay.
1970 when I moved to Boston. And there was an audience. It was in a club.
It was like a show enough live audition.
It was a live audition.
It was like the audience is here, sing.
Yes. And the people responded, and the guys, were like, girl, you can sing, they were so much fun. And then I looked up, and the guy that was supposed to be hiring me was sitting at the bar talking to somebody the whole time I sang. Oh. Well, I was young and, innocent and arrogant, and I just like, oh no. And I stormed out, and I did not sing for 13 years.
Really?
But I think God was protecting me because I was so innocent and naive.
You were green.
I was greener than green. Because I grew up really protected, the youngest of three, never really went. I was like attached to my mom like this.
Yes.
I didn't even date until I was in college. I mean, I was so innocent.
That, and then especially during those times too, you're probably right, because the entertainment industry just is notorious for, drugs, promiscuity, swindlers, people beating you for your money, and being green like that. You're probably right.
Yeah, I think I was being protected. And
Yes.
so I grew up in corporate America.
Uh-huh.
Right. So by the time I refused that job as a VP and I decided to sing, I could take care of myself.
Exactly. That was the other thing, he was doing. He was preparing you to be able to say, this is what I want to do, and be in a position to do it. So, so you were the baby in the family. Do you have children?
I have one son.
You had one son. Okay.
Yes.
Anything else you want to tell us about growing up in Philly or your family life?
It was happy. And as I said, I was really naive. So I grew up in Philly in the 50s. Yeah.
Yes.
I think back on that time.
Yes.
I can feel I'll call it the pain. I sensed a heaviness and almost a fear and a pain in the men around my life. My uncles, my father, the friends of the family. And now I know where it's coming from. This was the 50s in Philly.
Yes.
Life was not easy for us.
Yes.
And they all had families and children. I remember every time my brother asked for the car, I had an older brother. My father let him drive it, but I could feel the tension. And it was real, because every time he went out, he was stopped, thrown up against the car, searched, because how could he be driving a nice car? Yeah, right. So and I also think, I'm a little out there. I believe in ancestral memory. I believe in cellular memory. And I think that we carry the weight of our ancestors.
Yeah.
And when I think about, growing up, I was happy. We had a lovely life. We had great neighbors. We did we had fun. I felt protected. We walked to school and we were safe because everybody's eyes were on us, because it was a neighborhood.
Yes. Everybody knew everybody.
Everybody knew everybody, and all the way to school, I could see the faces in the window, those women watching me, so we also behaved because we knew.
Exactly.
We'd get
and
it
everybody could identify you by your nose. They know
there you go.
What family you was coming from. You was like, oh,
yes.
That's so-and-so's child.
So I felt very safe growing up, which was part of my naivete, but looking back on it, I can see what was happening. And, my parents divorced when I was a young teenager. So it made life a little harder, but we didn't have a lot of money, but we were fine. And we always lived in nice neighborhoods because my father was in real estate. So we kept moving from house to house, up and up. And I think that naivete is really what got me through college years, because I was one of very few of us in my school.
Wow.
And we're talking 1965 to 1969.
Wow.
Those were tough years.
Yeah, we got to stop for a second and let the audience know how old you are. The first audience that will hear this is not seeing you, so it's going to be the radio audience. But once they do see you, y'all are not going to believe. Tell them about your age, Judith. let the cat out the bag.
Yeah, I'm 75. I was born in 1947. And it's funny, on Facebook, somebody posted this thing on Facebook today, and they were talking about all the things that those of us who are this age have lived through. It's just unbelievable to think of how the world has changed in good and bad ways.
Yes.
And but I love my age.
Wow. I love it on you. I love it on you. I do. And I think just to be so vibrant and to be so beautiful. I mean, the beautiful part is just a bonus. As far as like the way you look is just a bonus. It's clear that the way you feel is also, you're in a good space. And I really like that you talked about feeling safe as a child. It made me feel a little like not sad, but almost a little, I don't know. Nostalgic. It also was interesting when you talked about the weight around the men, because I've never put that into a perspective, but I can remember that too. But my mom, we were poor.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not know. I did not know that we were poor. I did not know. My mother, listen, we wasn't allowed to wash clothes. I mean, I had to learn all this stuff when I got older because my mom was like, I cannot afford for y'all to be messing up my stuff. You know what I mean? I didn't wash clothes. I didn't cook. And I guess the things that I learned was just from watching her because she just did not have enough to spare for training. You know, we could cook grilled cheese. We would have bologna sandwiches. We would have chicken soup we could do. She would have hot dogs, and those were fine. But don't you go in there messing with her food. She would have a menu on the refrigerator. She would shop, you know. She was so strong.
What a wonderful mom.
And I felt safe. And I always felt safe. I went to a acting course one time with Tasha Smith. She's from Camden, New Jersey. And she like berated me because she was trying to get us to conjure up emotions for an acting scene. And she was telling us to go back, you know, to being a kid and the pain and, you know, that traumatic thing that happened. I was just like, now I go to some other places in my life.
Yes, but not your childhood.
But not as my child, not as a child. Mm-mm.
Yes, I hear you.
Not as a child. So
we do.
Go ahead.
We do that as, you know, I think when I started singing when I was living in California, and then we had this big earthquake and I decided I had to get out. So, and I thought, okay, either I go back to Philly or I follow my dream. So I decided to follow my dream. So I moved to the south of France with my 6-year-old. I was divorced.
Wow.
And I think I had $1,000 in my pocket and I had no job, but I just knew, I always know God has taken care of me my whole life. He's not going to stop now. So whatever I have to go through, it's going to be okay. Yes. But there were moments, those first few years, there were moments I had no food, no money. No, there was a time when I was still pretty naive, even at 40, but, you know, and I got ripped off and I lost my apartment. But I've always had girlfriends. Ladies out there, let me tell you, I don't care what man is in your life. You never forget your girlfriends.
Come on now.
They will always be there for you.
Yes.
They may not, but they will. Our girlfriends are always there. They
come and go.
Just come live with me. And so my son never knew the hardships.
Wow.
I never let him know because I had to protect him from that.
Yes. Man.
So we do that. You know, your mom, I just love that story about your mom.
Oh, yeah. She was a
strong woman.
And you know, I found this ring the other day. I mean, I honestly, like maybe 2 days ago. And with all the moving around and stuff, I lost it. And I thought I had lost it forever. And it's my mom's ring. And it just, I found it, and I was just like, oh my God, it's mommy's ring. It's just, you know, just a plain old onyx with a little chip diamond in the middle. But I remember this ring and seeing mommy at the kitchen table paying bills, writing checks. This ring reminds me to handle my business. And one thing that my mom did was handled her business. Little country girl, didn't graduate from high school, had her first kid at 17 and her last at 23, and there was 5 of us. Every year, mommy had a baby, but all of us had the same dad. You know, they was together just long enough to make 5 babies. And my mom was just an amazing person. Never spoke bad about my dad, and just taught us to hold our head up. You know, I didn't know how poor we were until, you know, way down the road, but we had one of the nicest houses in our neighborhood. Mommy just kept everything. She was just amazing. And I was talking to you before we started the show, and, you know, she died at 45. So when I see women like you that's in your 70s, living an expat life, looking beautiful, doing what you want to do in life. I just want to shout it from the rooftops, because what a blessing, and what an amazing example you are for our younger people. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. And you said something important. You see me here doing what I want to do. Well, that's a big part of why I think I am here and healthy and happy. And, first of all, finding joy. I live to find joy in life for myself and everybody around me. I'm a joy seeker.
Right? Amen. I like
that. And I can't I own my life. So I have to make choices that create the life that I want. And I have lived my life in that way. And sometimes people think I'm crazy, right? They thought I was crazy when I gave up that job offer and decided to sing, because, music fills my soul, but it does not fill my purse. And they thought I was crazy when I took my child and moved to France. I lived in France for 28 years, happy as I could be. I loved it, right? Then, to leave New York and then come here to Panama, it's like, what's wrong with you? Well, I am doing as I choose. Okay. You want to know the secrets? One of them is that.
Come on.
Do what brings you joy, and don't worry about what other people think about you, because it's your life, is not theirs.
Yeah.
Right? Second is, I take care of myself. We are always so busy taking care of everybody else in the world. Self-care is so important. And I mean things like drink a lot of water, eat healthily. If you can, eat organically. Exercise, take good physical care of your body. This was a gift we were given by God. Let's take care of it. Do what we need to do, right? Work on your stuff, because disease is dis-ease. Yeah. We need to be at peace and centered and grounded and happy in our lives. Love ourselves. Don't look to somebody else to make you happy. Yeah. I have to make myself happy. Then people want to be around me and be happy with me, right? And I have not taken medication for probably 35 years. Wow. I try my best to do everything naturally. Pharmaceuticals and I don't go together. I think we are all over medicated. Yes. In the States, I look at my family and my friends, everybody is over medicated, and that's just treating the symptoms. It's not treating the root. So I tried very hard. Creating
problems a lot of times.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I have to, if I have to have some kind of, if I have to, I'll take it. Then I'll cleanse my body afterwards with a cleanse or something. But anyway, just not off.
That's very good advice. And I just counted, I love the joy seeker part. Yeah, you are a joy seeker, because that's what's up. And I also will say I'll be 60 in May, and I am not on one medication.
Brava.
A1. And I am realizing, though, that as I am getting older, that I cannot take that for granted. I have to do things that promote me staying that way. And everybody has got a day to be born and a day to die. And I just want to have as much joy in between. And that dash, I just want that dash to represent as much joy. There are situations, even right now, like I just put a picture out on social media, and a lady said, but it just looks so dramatic and serious for you. And I said, that photo, I like it so much because it reflects where I am. I'm at a place in my life where times is serious on a lot of different levels. And I can kiki it with you all the time, but believe me, I got stuff that I have to handle, and I need to be able to make good decisions. And that's where I am. I am in a place of reflection, and you need to be there. And I just need to make sure that I am not surrounding myself with people who bring me stress. And if it ain't peace and love, I ain't got no time for it. Period. Amen. Period. So you were an expat a long time ago. So when you went to France, you said France, right?
Yes.
When you went to France, did you become a citizen? How did that work?
No, I didn't. It actually took me 5 years to get into the system. France is a wonderful place to live, and they have the most incredible medical system, and they take care of their people. but I
Wow.
couldn't get into the system because I had to get a work permit and a resident permit, and it took a while. But I was so lucky. I was blessed because I actually went to the department, the governmental department that
Mhm.
gives you your work permits and all that. And I talked to the woman who was in charge of it. And I said to her, I don't have it. I'm working very hard. I told her my story.
Mhm.
I took my son with me. I told her that woman ended up being an ally. She was helping me find hotels or clubs that would hire me and get my work permit because it costs money. You had to pay for it, and the employer
Yeah.
had to pay for it. And finally, after 5 years, I was in the system, but it was very hard at first. But I spoke the language. That helped a lot.
So you had, that's what I was going to ask you. So you already knew French when you went there?
Yeah, I majored in languages in school.
Oh, wow.
I already spoke
Okay.
French, Spanish, and Italian and German. So
What a
I
plus.
was good. I was good in Europe.
Yes.
But I made it my business. I mean, it's always nice to have a group of expats around me, but I made it my business to integrate into the community and to
Yes.
make friends in the community. And that's what created the joy in my life. I had a broad social circle, and, for my music, I found musicians, I sang, then I got a gig as a coach, and I'm an executive coach. That's where I make my money,
Yes.
and so life was great.
And you
But it was,
stayed there 28 years.
I did.
Wow. So then you came back and you went to New York.
Yes.
And what year around what year was that?
2016.
2016. And then from New York, you decided to come to Panama. Tell us how you decided to be my neighbor.
Well, I had already decided I had to get out of New York. It's so horribly expensive. I loved my years in New York.
Yes.
I was singing, I recorded again, the music, the restaurants, the shopping. I mean, everything in New York is very exciting,
Yes.
but it eats up your wallet.
It is very expensive.
Anyway, and I was beginning to really not want to be in my country anymore. You know me a little bit. I'm very direct.
Yes.
I do not like where our country has been heading.
Yes.
And I needed to get out. I was too stressed. And I said, I'm a joy seeker. So
yes.
I was receiving International Living's magazine. And they kept talking about Panama, Costa Rica, and Portugal as like the top 3 places to retire.
Yes.
So I decided I was going to come and check it out. I had never even, I'd heard of the Panama Canal in Panama, but it wasn't on my radar, right? So at the time, I mean, I had a rental property that I built in the Dominican Republic. And everybody said, are you going to go to the DR? And I said, no, it's not the place for me. Wow. It didn't move me.
You didn't connect to it in that way.
I didn't connect to it that way.
Okay.
So I had this plan, get the timing, January 2020. I had this plan. International Living did a conference here, end of January 2020. So I got my tickets and everything. So I was coming here for a week, going to the conference. I got a real estate agent before I got here. I had a connection to show me around, show me places. Then I had a flight to Lisbon, and I was going to stay there for a month. And I was going to check out Portugal. And I really believed I was going to go back to Europe because I feel, I lived in the Mediterranean basin in another life. I just know that. Anyway, and I had some work in Switzerland and in South Africa. So I thought I'll stay there the month. It's easier to get to those places from there. All right. I come to Panama. The moving company, they thought I was crazy. I gave up my apartment. I told the moving company, I don't know where I'm going, but once I know, I'll tell you. So
I'll let you know.
2 days. That's all it took.
And you knew?
I knew. I just knew. And then I found this apartment. It was like, oh, this is home. And I offered a contract starting April 1st.
2020.
And the guy said he didn't want to wait. So I went, okay, fine. So off I went to Lisbon, went and did my job in Switzerland. We get to mid-March, bam, COVID hit.
Hot, COVID hot.
Ooh, let me tell you, and my work in South Africa was canceled, of course. Everything was canceled.
Yes.
And then the Western Hemisphere blocked flights from Europe, a lot of it. Like I could go to the States because I was a sit-in. I could not get to Panama. They would not allow flights from Europe into Panama. And
Wow.
I was online. I was like, I was terrified. And because I had no place to live. So, and I was in an Airbnb, right? So a friend said, fly through the States. You can, the States is still accepting flights. So I got this March 16th. I got a
Wow.
flight to Miami, connecting early in the morning of the 17th to come to Panama. I got there, went to the airport hotel. In the morning, I got up early, went to the airport, and they said, sorry, Tocumen closed at midnight. I
Oh.
was sobbing in the airport, I'm telling you.
Oh.
So I was, and then I got a notice from the real estate agent saying the guy accepted my offer to, after all, to start April 1st. So I said, okay, send me the contract. I signed the contract, the lease and
You
everything.
signed the contract anyway.
I signed it anyway. And because they kept saying, next month it's going to open, next month, you know, but I was
Yes, they
stuck
did that for about a year.
7.5 months. I was stuck in Miami.
Wow. In
And
an
then I got,
Airbnb?
ate me up. You know, that's another story. That was awful. But anyway,
Okay.
but Panama, there's something here. There's something about the energy here
Yes.
that just drew me in. And it ticked all my boxes. Okay. Ocean, warm weather, good food, good people, centrally
City,
located so I can fly anywhere. City has everything I could possibly want
everything.
and
Plus,
small. And
yes.
then you got the beach, you've got everything. But then there was this unexpected boon because I knew nothing about Panama.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk out into the streets, most of the people look like me.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I was other most of my life. From the
Yes.
time I left elementary school, my mother sent me to schools in other neighborhoods. So
Yes.
on Jewish holidays, in my junior high school of like over 1,000 people, there was like 15 of us.
Wow.
In high school, in college, in France, in my work, in the corporation,
You were
everywhere. I
always
was
other.
either alone or very few that people who looked like me.
Yes.
So it was a weird, I mean, when I walked out, this peace, you know, this comfort just fell over me, you know. I was like,
Wow.
I'm home. And I'll tell you, it
You're
has
home
not.
and you knew it. And
Yes.
you know something? I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I like the smell of Panama when I get off the plane. They recently got these new I don't know, the walkways from the plane
Yes.
to the where it's enclosed now and it's air conditioned. But I'll tell you, I miss getting off the plane and just smelling that mildew in the air. I do. I mean, just to take and breathe it in. And I started to recognize that more, as I would go back and forth. Because for a while there, like before COVID hit, that year before, I was going back and forth to Panama every month. Panama, Virginia, Panama, Virginia. I was building a business here. My husband had already transitioned here, and that's how we were working it. And it was exciting. I was wearing a mask. I was traveling so much that I had masks when COVID hit because that's just where I was. But increasingly, I would notice the energy, the difference of the vibration of the United States compared to Panama. Now, I am, I am born and raised in the United States of America. I cannot imagine at this time ever giving that up. However, I am grateful that I met a man who would take me outside of the box. And for me, being able to see for myself that other countries are viable and maybe even better for us in so many ways, even if you just focus on the way you feel. Like you say, the energy that makes a difference. People come here, Judith, and get healed. People come here, I work with a lot of expats. They come here from the United States sick on medication and get better.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Life is simpler somehow. I love the places I've lived, all of them, for different reasons. But I feel like, and it's intentional, by the way, I feel like I'm in a bubble. I feel like I'm in this healthy, joyful, sweet bubble. I stopped reading the newspapers and looking at the news years ago because I recognized how stressed it made me, because I don't like what's happening in the world. And I have this rule with my friends, when in the States, don't tell me. If there's something really important, tell me what it is, and of course I'm on Facebook and all. So if there's something happening, I see the headlines. I choose
you can choose what to click on.
Right. I do not read it all. I don't want it in my life. I don't want that energy in my life. There are names I don't even want to see in writing. And you know who I'm talking about. So I will not.
Not unless they say he's in jail.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just keep all of that outside of me. And I don't I'm on Facebook because I have to be. I don't really love social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff for my work. I don't ever get into any, I don't comment. I don't get into all those horrible conversations people get into, all this negativity and stuff. And you know what? I am happy. I am calm. I am peaceful. I don't need all of that in my life anymore.
So tell me this. So you're in Panama, and so you've been there, kind of full time since 2020.
Yes.
Okay. So
I was on that first flight in October 12th, 2020, the first flight to Panama after the pandemic.
So now, were they still on, serious lockdown, where you had certain days you could go out and stuff? Were you already a resident at that time, or did you get your residence during that time?
I got it during that. I got it so fast. I had a great employer. So I had registered with immigration before I left in January 2020.
Okay.
So when I came back, thank you.
Okay.
I just keep all of that outside of me. And I don't I'm on Facebook because I have to be. I don't really love social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff for my work. I don't ever get into any, I don't comment. I don't get into all those horrible conversations people get into, all this negativity and stuff. And you know what? I am happy. I am calm. I am peaceful. I don't need all of that in my life anymore.
Register yourself, or did you have an attorney register you?
The attorney took me. She's a friend actually, and she took me there. She took me there to register, and she knows everybody, so it was so easy. We just walked up to the counter. They took my picture. I signed a form, and we left.
Wow. See, I don't remember that part, or it might have been termed in a different way. And then the other thing about me is that I came in through my husband. So my track was a little different. So I love hearing these different stories. So you love it here. You perform on a regular basis. You're fluent in Spanish, so that makes it great. I noticed the other night you were asking, what you were trying to discern whether most of the audience was English speaking or Spanish speaking. I think that being in Panama, I think that Panamanian citizens love it when foreigners speak Spanish.
They do. And that night, I think everybody spoke English. So
English, it was an English crowd.
The month before, when I asked that question, there were two tables who said they didn't speak English. So I spoke in both languages. And they were so happy. It was really, and I tried to throw in a couple of boleros, in Spanish, because I want to honor the place that I live in.
Exactly. I'm working on it diligently, and slowly but surely it's coming. And I'll just be so glad when I can really have a full conversation, but I've gotten a lot better. And so I just am not putting the stress on myself. I'm just trying to take it all in and recognize and celebrate when I learn new words.
That's beautiful. And, it's the older we get, the harder it is. I'm grateful that I learned, during college years and high school years. And I think
That you remembered.
Yeah, yes. Well, yeah. Luckily, I use it in my jobs and stuff.
Okay.
But it's in spite of the fact that it's hard, I really encourage everybody to do it because it changes the experience and really allows us to integrate into the community.
It does.
And it takes away the discomfort. I was talking with a friend who's my age, who's been here longer than I, and she didn't speak a word of Spanish. And she was telling me how we were going to meet somewhere, and she had to take an Uber, and she was afraid.
Yes.
She was afraid because she didn't know where she was going, and she couldn't communicate with the driver. And I said, you have got to learn Spanish.
Yes.
How can you live in a place where you're afraid? And the fear comes from not understanding and not being able to communicate.
It's not a good feeling.
No, it's not. So, brava to you. I really, I encourage everybody. It's hard, but make it fun. That's the other thing. Make it fun. Don't make it difficult.
And surround yourself with people who, I love it when I become friends with someone who doesn't speak that good English. And we teach each other and trying to figure it out. It's challenging and it's fun, and I think it's really good for relationship building. Yes. So we got to get ready to go, but I want to know three things. Okay. Number one, you've moved around quite a bit. You're you're pretty seasoned expat. Do you see Panama as your last stop? And the other thing is, what advice would you give to people who are considering Panama as a relocation? And the last thing, I'm turning the show all over to you, Judith. The last thing I'd like to know is, how do people find you and support your work here in Panama? And if you're are you still doing the coaching?
Oh, I am.
Okay. Definitely tell us about that too. All yours.
Okay, first question was,
do you see yourself staying here in Panama?
I have this thing about saying forever because things change, life changes, circumstances change.
Yes.
I never thought I'd leave France,
Right.
At this moment, I would say this is where I intend to be. But I've also looked at it as it will be my base. And as long as I can afford it, I would want to spend a few months of the year, usually the summer months, in France, because I still have a lot of friends there, and it was a home for a long time.
Yes.
I originally thought I would want to go back to the States, once to the East Coast, once to the West Coast, to see friends and family. I have had no desire to get on that plane and go back to the States, so I'm not sure that's going to happen. But so I would see this as my base, and going where I choose to go, when I choose to go to other places. And I really don't see that changing. Okay. What advice would I give? Come and feel it. Come and experience it. Come and see it. And stay for long enough to get a sense of what this place is for you. See, I don't encourage people to I jump off the cliff. That's my style. When I decide something, I go for it 200%. So there was no way I was just going to come here and go back and forth. But a lot of people I know have done that, and that is the way they've eased themselves into this life. Yeah. So I would say do what works for you, but definitely come and be open. And please do not come here and look for what you have right now. The whole reason of moving someplace else is to have a different kind of life. Yes. So don't come here and expect what you have in your home country and then get frustrated because it's not your home country. Then you might as well stay home. Right. That's true. I'm very direct. So
don't come with the colonizing attitude.
Oh, no.
And also with the North American entitlement.
Right. Just come and take this life for what it offers. This is such a rich place to be. And I'm not talking financially. I'm just talking, there's so much here. And there's so much uniqueness and diversity. There's so much here on offer just come and take it for what it is. And, you know, one of the reasons I tend to not like to be in expat groups a lot, I'm gonna be very honest, you know, it was like that in the States. Don't come here and then start bashing the country you chose to be in.
Exactly.
You know, if you come here, then this is my home.
Yes.
So yes, I'm an expat, but this is my home.
This is the home. This is the home that you chose.
Oh, thank you. So if you choose this as your home,
exactly,
then accept it as your home.
Yes.
And protect it and defend it as your home.
Defend it. Yes.
And, you know, we can all complain. It's not perfect. Nothing's perfect.
It's not.
You know, and we can complain about, yo, he said he was going to be on time and he was so late. Well, I'm sorry. They got CP time like 500%.
They got CCCP time.
You know, so
you ain't CP, baby. You might be talking out. You're supposed to be here today and you're here tomorrow.
Come on, you know. So, but what I have chosen to do is make my expectations extremely clear. Whenever I deal with anyone about time, I say, and don't disappoint me.
Yeah.
Or we will not be doing business.
Yes.
So I also believe in
to be clear, I'm gonna need you to be here. If
yes.
you're not here, we gonna have a problem.
Yeah. And so I feel like I'm training people. Well, okay. So another belief of mine is in any relationship, I have to teach people how to be with me. I can't just expect them to know, and I can't expect them to give me what I need unless I'm very clear about what I need. Well, so I do it that way too.
Whether you, and the thing about it is you say that and you recognize that, but the truth is that we are constantly teaching people how to treat us. And if they're treating us in a way that is not acceptable to us or that is not making us happy, but we are continuing to accept that, we're teaching them that too. We're teaching them to mistreat us. But you know, being clear and not expecting everybody to be a mind reader and tell them, this is what I need from you. You know what I'm saying? This is what I need from myself. You know, this is what's going to help our relationship be great.
Absolutely.
And they can tell us too.
Yes. And I ask that. Yes. You know, I tell you, and then I will ask you, because otherwise we're operating on sand. We're not on solid ground.
Exactly.
Right? Anyway, so that's that. And how you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook, Judith Lorick Jazz. So that way you will always know where I'm singing or what I'm doing in my music world. As I said, I'm an executive coach. So, you know, these days since COVID, everything's online, which is interesting for me because I used to have to fly all over the world coaching these executives. And now I can sit in my living room dressed from the waist up, I put on a little makeup, and I work on, you know, I coach on leadership programs. I know and I coach individual executives. So I don't have any clients here in Panama. I'll say yet, because I know there are a lot of companies here, but I work through international management institutes or large organizations in the States and in Europe.
Wow. So you're doing that, you're doing the executive coaching, and I'm sure you do just that to the extent that you want to do it.
Exactly.
And then you're singing. And so like, how often do you sing? And you said they can go to your social media to see when you're singing. So you're not like a set, I'm here every week at doing
no,
you sing.
No. I'm singing at the club in the American Trade Hotel, and it's turned out to be like once a month. They're talking about trying to do something more or different because the minute they advertise it sold out and they have to turn people away. So that might increase. I don't know. And then there's a little restaurant in San Francisco called Salotto Italiano, and it's run by an Italian couple who love the arts. I will always say yes to them because they love the arts, and they have music every night of the week, different kinds of music. Wow. All different kinds. They have a local artists who put, you know, their stuff in the restaurant, and they're so sweet. So I'm there maybe every other month. Yeah, maybe. It's not a regular thing. That's why I say check it out on social media, because I know I'll be in Casco at the hotel club on October 25th.
American Trade Hotel,
yes,
right?
American Trade Hotel.
The band that you were with, is that your standing band?
Yes.
They're
although
good.
they're wonderful. So the piano
Yes,
basic.
and I love how you give them so much love.
they
A
are.
lot of focus is always on the person out front, but I think it's really nice how you constantly love on them.
I do what I do. I love what I do. And yes, I'm the front person, but these guys have worked a lifetime honing their art. And a lot of times musicians don't want to play with singers. And I have always, from day one, given the musicians who work with me a lot of freedom and a lot of time to play and to solo. Because I also love to listen because they're so good. I'd be nothing without them. I call them my easy chair. They hold me, giving me enough space to be me, right?
Yes.
And yeah, I'm the band leader, but I'd be nothing without them. So the trio is my standard.
That just shows, like, if I was thinking about needing executive coaching, just knowing that you have that stance, it just shows that you're experienced about leadership. You know what I mean? It just shows your experience about leadership. Leadership is not about telling people what to do and about being the big me and the little you. It's not about that at all, and so many people that want to be leaders need to recognize that.
Oh, really. Amen.
And it shines through it's a humility and a softness and just everything about you, your presentation, your music, your style is very classy. To me, it's like a Nancy Wilson,
Oh, you have no idea what a compliment that is. My first album was dedicated to Nancy Wilson and my mother, because she was my mother's favorite singer. And she is the one who taught me that jazz is elegant.
Yes.
So when I started singing and the way I've led my career, don't expect me to be in some hole in the wall and with holy t-shirts and jeans and so, jazz from its inception was elegant. You look back in the day, the women were in evening gowns, the men were or suits. They were slick. And so that's also my expectation. And in the beginning, sometimes when musicians start working with me, they're like, rolling that because you're going to wear a suit every night, don't you come in here looking sloppy.
But something also, and I really gotta go. I'm just loving this conversation. I only got so much airtime. But something that you just reminded me of. I mean, you probably remember back in the day, well, you were out of the stage for a long time, but there were smooth jazz stations everywhere. I think smooth jazz may have been, was it a franchise?
I don't know, but
it no matter where you went, there was smooth jazz, 10-something, and you would get it in Charlotte. And I mean, everywhere you went, you could almost find a smooth jazz station. And then they just started to disappear. And so then you didn't see as many live artists. You had to really look. And I think that honestly, what took it out was new media. The radio station started changing completely, the way that people listen to music and things like that. But something that I feel like has brought it back, the bigger platform of it's so wonderful to know that you have something more than Waterfalls, because Waterfalls was a station on Sirius that you could listen to jazz. But now with all of the platforms, and you can just tune right in to jazz, I think it's given it a rebirth, and people are looking. That's why your shows sell out. People are looking for good jazz. They're looking for that class, that jazz used to represent, and that's, I think as a younger person, when we said we were going to see jazz, I felt classy. It was different than going to see Bootsy Collins.
Yes. Yes. And I remember people saying, well, I said, look into the audience. Young people are coming out more and more to hear jazz because they're also looking for something different. And I'm not knocking the music, other kinds of music, but the music that really touches my soul is, the lyrics, the melodies. It's melodic, it's beautiful. Jazz is many things, but my style of jazz is very classic. You said Nancy, Ella, Sarah, it's that kind of music. And that's
standards. You do a lot of standards.
Yeah. I do a lot of, it's funny, I do a lot of standards, but many of them are unknown ones. Because I feel like it's also my job to teach people what beautiful music out there is. So I will mix things that everybody knows with things that people may not know.
There were some things that you sang that I did not know. That I did not know. But it was a nice mix. It was a nice mix of new things and things like, He Needs Me, and a few other ones that you did too that would definitely, I was aware. I was wishing you would do Nancy Wilson, Guess Who I Saw Today, girl. That's
well, I'm doing it next time, because the other thing about me is I don't want to present the same show every time.
Exactly.
So I change it up every concert. And so I had been doing Guess Who I Saw Today like every time, because everybody loved it. And it's like one of my all-time favorite songs.
Yes.
So I'm going to do it October 25th.
You got to do it. I got to come next time, and you're going to do it. But listen, I got to go. Thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate your time, and just want to wish you much more continued success and joy in your life.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. I had so much fun. So thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It was great.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon.
Okay. OMG. We did it again, guys. Oh my goodness. Do you know I'm about to hit a year with this not a year, I'm sorry. We're about to hit, 3 years? 2 years. We're about to hit 2 years on BlaxitRadio.com. November 7th, 2021 was my first broadcast. I think we're going to do an anniversary broadcast where, I've talked about some of the things that have happened in my life since then. But you know what? I just was so happy to have Judith on the show. It's really wonderful to support other Black expats in Panama who are doing amazing things. I'm so glad that we got to meet. I love her talking about being a joy seeker, baby. Yes, a joy seeker. I can definitely relate to that. So anyway, I'm over time as usual. So I'm about to get up out of here. Want to give a shout out to my main man, Daryl Spears, Elite Conversations Podcast Media, for putting my show together like he always does. Devin and Riley, thank you so much for creating Blaxit Radio, giving us an opportunity to put our voices out into the world. And listen, whole lot going on. By now, our book is released, and so you want to get out there and get that digital copy of our guide to Afro-Panamanian culture. So excited and proud about that. So get out there and do that. Look for Judith Lorick online, and if you're coming into Panama, see if she's playing. If you're already here, of course, check her out. And to leave you with Marvin Gaye, Let's Get It On. That was one of her favorites from the 70s. She liked Marvin and some other people, but we're going to go with Marvin Gaye, Let's Get It On. Yes, honey. And besides that, it's Charlotte Van Horn, Black Expats in Panama, by way of Little Old Glassboro, New Jersey, right here on BlaxitRadio.com. I love you. I love you. I love you. And there's just nothing you can do about it. I'll see y'all next time. Peace and love, my brothers and sisters.